Awesome. Oh, welcome everyone. Welcome to our final coaching call. So here's an opportunity for you to get your questions answered. What I want to do today is a couple of things. I want to answer any questions on the information we've already talked about. We'll start off with that at the very beginning. Then what I want to do is segue into some information that I have for you regarding another topic that I think is extremely important, and it's recovery, and particularly recovery after exercise, and how to things that you can do to help your body bounce back a little faster. And then I want to get to some of your questions. I know there were some planning questions and some things like that. There were some specific questions from this group that I wrote down. So that's kind of our overview of the day. So let's start out first by looking backwards and reviewing and just saying, have you got questions or need, questions or comments or whatever you'd like to share about the information that we have covered to this point? So unmute yourself and share what you would like. Hi, Patricia. I don't see you, but we can hear you.
Yes, hi. I had trouble getting on.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. No questions on anything to this point then. It looks like we're pretty good.
Did you see what I texted, that I was looking for sort of a guide to the nutritional area?
I did. We're going to cover
Okay.
that. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover that towards the end. I wanted to clear up the questions, any questions that may be occurring to this point, and then give you a little bit of new information, and then answer all those questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no other question.
Okay. All right. Okay. So everybody's good. I take it then, right? Hands or thumbs or whatever. Okay. All right. Well, good. All right, so let me grab what I have got for you for today. One of the things I want to talk about is recovery. And in particular, here's what I'm going to do while I go through this part. I am just going to go ahead and I am going to mute. There we go. I'm going to mute everybody for right now. There we go. Cool. All right. Recovery. We can still go hard in terms of activity and playing and anything that we want to do. As we get older, it becomes imperative that we make decisions to help our bodies to do that. When we were 30 or 40 something, you probably have noticed a difference. You could kind of beat on yourself and you could get away with it, right? Now, if you beat on yourself a little bit harder, your body kind of barks back and says, no, you can't beat that hard that fast. So there are certain behaviors that we can do to help us recover. And what I'm specifically talking about here would be times where we are physically going at it, right? So you go out and you play pickleball and you stay out and you just give full out for 3 hours, right? And you're done and you're tired. You're like, whoo, that was a day, right? Everybody's had those kind of days, okay? I'm not talking about the days where you go and you come home and you're like, yeah, that was nothing, okay? It's not as important. Recovery is always important. It's not quite as important on those low-level days as it becomes on those higher days. So days where you're going full out, days where you're doing tournaments, days where you're really pushing your body. That's what I'm talking about. What we do in between the day we push and the next time we get active can set us up for success, or it can set us up for potential injury and discomfort. So here are some of the key behaviors that will help you to become more successful. So let me pull my PowerPoint in and share my screen with you. Come on, from the beginning. There we go. Okay, so a couple of those key behaviors to start out with. We're going to talk about food and drink. Two very first things. So when you've gone really hard, one of the keys to recovery is getting some food back in your body. And there's a couple of guidelines or precursors that can help you. Very first thing you want to do is you want to get that food back in your body in 30 minutes. So once you've finished exercising, think of having a 30-minute window, maybe 45, but really the best benefit to your body is going to be eating within 30 minutes. What you want to look at that point in time would be having some type of food that has a 3-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein. And when I say carbs, I'm really not looking for simple carbs. I'm looking for more complex carbohydrates. So simple carbs would be our sugars and our flours, right? Think white sugar, white flour. You know, a handful of jelly beans, candy, those are simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates would be things like sweet potatoes, whole grains, right? Whole grain breads, those sorts of things. Give me 1 second here. Okay, that should work. Okay. So complex carbohydrates are what would be what we're looking for. And ideally what you want is a 3-to-1 protein ratio. So a couple of ways to think about this would be, last week we spent a lot of time, I think not quite as much time as the other group, but we spent some time talking about energy bars, right? Energy bars and meal, you know, the difference between energy bars, meal replacement bars. We touched a little bit on protein shakes. Typically, that could be a great alternative for an after recovery meal. And what you'd probably be looking for there, like as an example with Vega, Vega has a couple different protein powders. They have the Vega Sport, which is designed specifically for sport performance, and then they have the regular protein powder. You're normally going to see in protein powders probably about the same amount of protein. Depending upon the powder, it's probably 20 to 30-ish grams of protein. But what you will see is a difference in the amount of carbohydrates. So potentially you could use a protein powder. Also potentially you could use a bar. You could also use your own homemade snacks. I posted a link in the community the other day. It was to a recipe, and I haven't made it in a while. I don't know why. I usually do them more in the summer. It's a no-bake energy bar, and it has peanut butter and dates and things like that. And it's like super easy. It's really, really simple to make. So you've got, you know, some of the fiber from your fresh fruits. You can maybe combine that with a piece of string cheese. You know, a string cheese is pretty portable, right? Maybe a couple chunks of cheese with it, you know, to get a little protein, perhaps some nuts. So think like a complex carbohydrate, maybe a good granola, not a granola that's full of a lot of sugar, in combination with a little bit of protein. The thing with this is generally you're better off thinking about it beforehand and having something to come along with you. Because, you know, think about it this way. If you have a half-hour drive to the courts, which some people do, right? They're not always right down the street. If you have a half-hour drive to the courts, by the time you get done playing, get everything packed up, get in the car, get home, I mean, it really could conceivably be an hour, right? So that's something where you may be better off taking it along with you. It could be like a half a peanut butter sandwich. You know, you get some whole grain from the bread, and you get some protein from the peanut butter. Be careful with peanut butter. Peanut butter tends to have a lot of sugar in it, right? So what you really want to look for are peanut butters that have sugar, peanuts and salt. You may not like peanuts, and peanuts can be a dirty food, meaning they can absorb a lot of the pesticides and things that go into the soil. You may opt for like an almond butter, those types of things. So even what is the manufacturer? They have packets. Oh, I'll have to think about it. It's maybe one of you can remember for me. They have, is it Jake's? They have packets of almond butter. They come pre-done in the packet. It's a white packet and it's about that big. It's a single serving almond butter. So you don't even have to like put it on a piece of bread. You could take that with you and you're going to naturally get some carbohydrates. I'm going to write that down if nobody remembers it, and I will. Oh, why am I not remembering the name of that? It's big for skiers. Some dried fruit. Dried fruit can be another good option. Watch the amount of sugar in it. There are a lot of times that sugar, there's a lot of added sugars. So food, 3-to-1. Fruit, he's got a banana. Bananas are great carbohydrates. Those are natural carbohydrates. Not only bananas, I mean any type of fruit, but 3-to-1 carbs to protein within 30 minutes. So think about that snack. Then our next one is going to be water. This happened earlier when I stopped. There we go. Next one is hydration. Make sure you're drinking. Helen, I saw that you had a question, Helen. Let me finish with the water and we will take water and food together, okay? Hydration, water. Now you're gonna see, there may be some studies out there that talk about like things like Gatorade, right? Now, first of all, I don't believe in Gatorade. I don't think that Gatorade is a great product unless you have absolutely nothing else. Gatorade is basically just a sugar drink. It's sugar water is really what it is. You just, the amount of electrolytes that you get from the Gatorade product are pretty minimal. Now that's the Gatorade series that you buy in the grocery stores. Gatorade makes a whole nother series that is actually quite nutritious. It is for primarily endurance athletes. So while it's very good, it's pretty high in calories. And we just don't tend to burn the kind of calories that endurance athletes do. So yes, they do have a good line of products, not typically what you find at the grocery store. So I'm not a big fan of Gatorade. I do believe in taking electrolytes, as we talked about last week, while you're out there and playing. But after you're done playing, water. Plain water, still water, or carbonated water, it really doesn't matter. They've done a lot of studies and they have not shown that carbonated water is significantly less beneficial to the body than regular still water is. Caveat. Carbonated water, you always see me sucking out of this bottle. This is a SodaStream bottle. So I carbonate my own water. There's no other additives that go into this. You do want to watch if you get carbonated water, you want to read the labels because sometimes you may be surprised at the amount of salt that they put into it. That's the same thing goes with bottled water. Like Dasani has minerals, quote unquote minerals in the water. So sometimes they're adding inside of the water. You're better off with just plain still or plain sparkling water. And this still goes back to make sure that you're getting 1/3 of your body weight in water daily. If you are out and you're playing pickleball and it was a particularly warm day, you probably were sweating more. You probably need a little bit more. Perhaps take a bottle of water, that's the one on the screen is probably 16 ounces, and have that with you with your pre-done snack and say, okay, I'm gonna finish my water and my snack at the same time. And then when you get home, pour yourself another glass of water and keep trying to drink that. Water flushes out the muscles. So all the muscle, the byproducts and the waste that your muscles produced while you were using them, the water helps to get them out of your body. And if they get that out of your body, you're going to have less soreness and less residual effects. Okay? All right, so hang on one second. I'm gonna just stop this screen share. I know Helen had a question, but in case if there's anyone else, I'm gonna start with Helen first. So go ahead, Helen.
So when you talk about recovery, there's rec play and there's tournament play.
Mm-hmm.
So rec play it's pretty much, maybe 2 or 3 hours of kind of consecutive play with breaks in between. Tournament play, you could play and then not play for an hour, then play 2 matches really close together and then not play for an hour. How do you handle the recovery between, I'm thinking of tournament matches?
So tournaments are a more complex problem in terms of not just recovery afterwards, but what you do in between matches. And I don't know if you saw it, Laura Fenton Cavanda. Did you see last week? Her and I did a live last Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay. We did have some strategies in that, particularly for long spans in tournament games, what to do during the tournament itself. Okay, and how to manage your body. So I would go back to that for that question. For the end of the day question, tournaments, and side note, that's why I don't play many tournaments, is because they're all damn day. Tournaments are particularly taxing on the body. So even if you weren't like full out, because you're there all day, because you're mentally in it and involved and that sort of thing, I would recommend this type of recovery after a tournament, regardless of how the matches have measured themselves through the day. Because I think tournaments are just physically taxing. Plus we're dealing with the emotional side, which puts physical stress on our body. So we're talking about stressing the body in that situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does it answer the question?
I'll take another look at last week's sessions.
Yeah, she had we talked about that specifically with some things, with some food. She had some recommendations. One of the recommendations said, and she eats this quite a lot, and I like it, and I don't know why I forgot about it until she was reminding me, was peanut butter and celery together.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, that's something easy that you can take in a snack in a bag. Throw a little bit of peanut butter right inside, or get one of those little, I cannot remember the name of those packets. Get one of those little packets and put it right inside of the celery. And to me, that's not only a nutritious treat, that's just a fun treat because it is, it's crunchy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I don't know. Let's see. I know Shirley can unmute herself. Patricia, if you wanted to unmute, you just have to ask me. You try and unmute yourself if you had a question. Otherwise,
No, not really.
Okay.
Just kind of listening along.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
You mentioned sodium in seltzer water.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at, this is just the Kroger brand. So would it have no sodium, or is there always going to be some?
Not necessarily. Read the ingredient.
Okay.
You read the ingredient list and then look at the label for the percentage, because they do have to list it if it's in there.
Okay, because this one says there's 15 milligrams is 1%. Is that too high?
There's a not if you don't necessarily have blood pressure problems or where you're watching your sodium for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, I don't drink a lot of it just because regular water is fine, but sometimes it's nice just to have the bubbles for a change, even if it's, because I just get the unflavored ones even.
Yep.
But okay, I just was looking at the brand again, and I saw it did have sodium, but I didn't know if there was like a number I should be trying to stay below. So okay.
Only if you have salt issues. And what I would recommend, I mean, I will tell you, I love my Soda Stream. You can get a Soda Stream for depending upon when they go on sale, like somewhere around $50. The cartridges cost they cost me $15.99. It's a it's a reusable cartridge. I think I get, is it like 60 liters out of it's pennies. And I'm also, there's no waste, there's no cans, or there are no bottles along with it, so it's environmentally friendly. And you just carbonate.
Do you make it like in a liter bottle that you keep in your fridge, or?
You have these bottles.
Okay.
You get these bottles with the Soda Stream, and you fill them up, and you can keep it in your fridge if you want to keep it in your fridge after you've carbonated, or I just take my water right out of the tap and then just continue to bubble it.
And then do you
Um,
just send the cartridges in to be recharged?
You know, you swap them out. Like our local hardware store carries them, but like Bed Bath and Beyond has them. You know, I mean, some pretty major. I think Target has them.
Okay.
So some pretty major places have them. And whenever I actually have 2 cartridges, and so that I'm never so that I'm never without. Right. So one runs out, and I'll swap it whenever.
Maybe I'll look into it. It doesn't go flat in the fridge very
know,
fast.
It goes a little bit flatter if you leave it for 2. Now, I will tell you, I never usually end up leaving mine, right? I usually drink it all during the course of the day. But I would say this, if it went a little flat, you just put it back in the soda stream and carbonate it one more time, right? You know, hit the carbonator.
Yeah, I like the idea of the no waste because we go through a lot of these cans. You know.
Yeah. Yep. I'm actually, John and I, this is our second, it's made of plastic, right? The one that we have is made out of plastic. So we're actually on our second soda stream. That's how much we both use it. So cool. Uh-huh. Go ahead, Helen.
Alkaline water, smart water. Do you have any feeling for them?
I really don't. I mean, I will tell you, I understand the basis on alkaline and pH. That has just never, I've just never seen the research to make my head go, okay, I need to do more of that. If it's something that makes your body feel good, do it.
Yeah, who knows?
Do it. But yeah, I wish I had more of a definitive for you there. Okay. All righty. Okay, let's go back into the next thing. So now that we're eating and that we're drinking, let's go ahead and let's talk about our next thing. Come on. There we go. Okay. All right. So the next one would be stretching. And there's really kind of 2 things that that I really do. One is static stretching. So we've talked about dynamic stretching, I think, early on, and I shared a video. So dynamic stretching is essentially stretching while you're in motion. Typically, we use dynamic stretching when we're warming up our bodies. So that would be something that you would want to do prior to playing pickleball. Static stretching helps to lengthen the muscles, loosen the tendons around the joint. So static stretching is a little bit closer to what we probably learned in high school, right? In high school, we went into gym class and you just like went into these stretches and you held them. You also bounced a lot. We don't bounce in static stretching today, okay? We hold stretches. So here, this is an example of somebody who's doing a quadriceps stretch by pulling her heel towards her bottom. She's stretching the muscle on the front of the leg. And the thing with static stretching is stretching should be slightly uncomfortable. It should never be painful. Okay? Never painful. So when we do a static stretch, ideally you'd want to hold the stretch for approximately 30 seconds. While you're stretching, excuse me. While you're stretching, use your breath to go a little bit deeper into the stretch, okay? And what I mean by that is this, is simply stretch to a point where you feel a little bit of discomfort, right? Just a little bit, right? You notice the muscles being stretched. That's really what you want to feel. It's like, oh, okay, I'm getting a stretch here. Then what you do is you take, like as an example, so if I'm here and I feel a stretch about here, I take a really deep breath and I would go, as I let it out, I try and stretch just a little bit further, okay? And then hold it there. Don't, again, stretch to being hurt. It should not hurt, just to being uncomfortable. So use breath to help you get deeper and deeper into the stretch. I know somebody asked, I don't have, there's a written static stretching program inside Fit After 50, but it's not one of the resources that I have inside it's just inside that program. What I do have is a video that I shared that was on the Better Pickleball channel with some stretches for after pickleball. And typically what we're trying to stretch is trying to stretch a little bit here in the upper body, for, you know, stretching our arms from using the paddle, and then stretching particularly hamstrings, which are the muscles in the back of our legs, as well as our gluteals, our quadriceps, and our calves. Our calves tend to get really, really tight, and I will talk specifically about calves in just a little bit. So stretching is number one. The second thing is active recovery. So what I mean by active recovery is this, is you go out and you play, right? And you play and you know you played hard and you came home and you had your food and your drink and you did your stretching, and about 2 hours later you go, ooh, I'm going to be really sore tomorrow. Or you wake up tomorrow morning and you're like, whoa, I kind of overdid it yesterday, right? So active recovery would be doing something gentle to get the body moving again. And typically the two best ways to do that would be jump on a bike, right? Stationary bike, bike around your neighborhood, just kind of get your legs and your pedals moving. Go for a walk. You know, I mean, go for a walk. Really focus on trying to allow your hips and your legs, or your arms. Let's just say your arms were tired, right? Allow your arms to swing. Take big steps. Allow your hips and your legs to try and walk freely. Go for a swim. Swimming can be great active recovery. You know, go jump in a pool if that's what you like to do. Something gentle, but something where the body is moving again. People ask me all the time, pickleball is generally probably one of the least strenuous activities I do on my body. Skiing can be extremely strenuous for me. And there's a lot of times that I get home from the ski hill and people are like, what do you mean you ski all day and then you're at the gym? Well, I go to the gym and there's a lot of times I just get on the bike and just start pedaling, right? And I just pedal for like, I'm not hard. I'm not pushing my body. I'm just trying to keep those leg muscles moving, because what it does is as the blood keeps flowing, it starts removing those toxins from our body and gives our muscles a bigger chance to, start to recover. Okay. So you may need some active recovery after a really hard day. You need to make that decision. Talk about a couple other recovery things that you can do. Ice, particularly looking at joints, right? Where your knees are sore, maybe a sore elbow, especially if you were kind of nursing a little tennis or a little, you know, golfer's elbows on the bottom, tennis elbows up here on the top. You know, if you're nursing a sore arm, ice can help in general, about 10 minutes worth of ice. You don't always want to put, this person has ice directly on the skin. That's not always recommended. Usually get some kind of towel and put a towel between you and your ice pack. And frankly, my favorite ice pack is a pack of peas. You know, just get a frozen pack of peas. You can keep reusing them forever and ever and ever, until the bag finally breaks on you. And but that's what I use. Great for knees. Cold water applies as well. You know, I live here at Lake Tahoe, and there are times, more so when I'm running, I will just go into the lake and walk up and stand with the water above my knees. That cold water really helps the body in terms of the recovery process. So ice, 10 minutes, cold water. There's a lot of research about using intermittent cold inside of the shower, right? Warm to cold inside of the shower. I will tell you, personal experience, that's not working for me. I'm just not that kind of, that just holds no appeal to me, no matter how good it may feel. But cold generally helps. Warm can help as well. Generally, warm helps later. Something like Epsom salts in a bath, in a warm bath later at night, can help to loosen up the muscles as well. Rolling is a big one. If you have vascular issues, please check with your doctor before you would start any kind of rolling program. That could be problematic for you, but for everyone else, rolling is generally a great way to get the connective tissue to loosen up, as well as eliminate some of those things from our body. We really don't want to roll on a joint. So as an example, with the knee, you won't want this roller where you're flat on your stomach and have it right on top of your knee. You could roll the muscles on the inside of the knee as well as the outside of the knee and behind the knee. You wouldn't want to roll it completely on the front of the joint. Speaking of rolling, one that I forgot is if you do have like a foot issue, right, plantar fasciitis, you could take a water bottle, a plastic water bottle, freeze it, and you can roll on that. So you get the combination of the roll and the cold together. A couple other products that I like: tennis balls. If you have a tennis ball around the house, that's a good one. Trigger point therapy, I have used that for years. I got into trigger point therapy when I was distance running. Those little balls down on the right-hand side are firmer than a tennis ball. You know, right? Think of a tennis ball, right? Everybody knows a tennis ball compresses. I can grab a tennis ball. In fact, I know I had them both in here. Well, I actually have my trigger point therapy ball in here. I don't know that you can see this. I mean, I'm really pushing on this. This doesn't compress a lot, right? This is a pretty firm ball. So it's firmer than a tennis ball, not as hard as a lacrosse ball. I know that some people like to roll with a lacrosse ball. There is no give in a lacrosse ball. So I would say tennis ball has the most amount of give. These are in the middle. Lacrosse balls are on the end. You can put this anywhere. You can roll it on your foot. I can put it behind my chair, and while I'm sitting here, move around and get my knots on my chair. I love the little yoga block. So even if you don't have a trigger point therapy, if you've got a yoga block at home, take a yoga block, put your tennis ball on top of it, get down on the floor and position your calf muscle on top of the tennis ball that's sitting on the yoga block. Your calf actually has 3 different insertion points, and those tend to get really tight when we do court sports. And it's about like halfway down your calf. So think about your calf. Your calf muscle comes down and it's kind of thick, and then like right about where it starts to get thinner in the back, that's about those insertion points. And that's a good way to do it. That little roller with the blue things, that's called a footballer. You can roll your foot on that. You can, if you look at the picture of her laying down, she's got the footballer and she's using the back of her calf, or she's not laying down, she's sitting. I said laying down. She's sitting. It's a picture of her on the box. And you can roll, like if you have a sore Achilles, right? That's a place to help roll out that Achilles just a little bit. They also have one that looks like a footballer, only it's about like that big. And that's a great thing to roll on the thighs. I like rolling the thighs. I like that better than a foam roller for under my butt, where the hamstring and the gluteal attach to each other. That place gets really sore and it's hard to get into. It's a big, thick muscle. And that's the little larger one that they have gets in there pretty deep. So I really do like trigger point therapy. That's one of my faves. The one up on the right is you've probably seen these machines. A pretty common one around pickleball is Jolt. In fact, Laura Fenton-Cavanda has a Jolt, and she swears by it. And what it does, it kind of just like boom, 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 boom. You know, it literally pounds into the muscle. I don't have one, and I've thought about getting one. I really do roll a lot. and so I kind of haven't found the need to get the Jolt. She swears by it. I will tell you, she swears by it. For me personally, it was a tiny bit noisy. I mean, that's just right, a personal thing. But she swears by it. And they do range in price. I don't really know what makes them different. I mean, I've seen them from about $80 or $90 all the way up to $350 or so dollars. I think that Jolt, she said, was around $150-ish. So just another tool to help you, but you do see that more and more, and you see trainers use that. So, I always look to the training industry. I really look towards personal trainers, but also athletic trainers who are working with, like football players, WNBA players. What are they using? Because those athletes push their bodies to the max and they have to recover very quickly. So I'm kind of always looking to that industry to tell me, what's the latest and greatest. And they do use some versions of these products. And then the last one I've got for you is sleep, is rest. And sometimes we're told that as we get older, we just don't need as much rest. I got you, Helen. Yeah, this is going to be the last one, and I'm going to open it up for questions. Sometimes people will tell you they don't need as much rest. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is still what we need. Now, do our sleep habits change? Absolutely. There's changes that's going on in our body. Our cortisol production, which is a hormone, is fluctuating as we get a little older. It's changing. It can cause us to have interrupted sleep. Doesn't mean we need less. Okay? Does not mean we need less sleep. We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So here would be my 2 recommendations. If you are a person who has some chronic sleep issues, you're just not getting a good night's sleep, when all of this is over and we're outside of this COVID time, go to a sleep clinic. Make the appointment, go to a sleep clinic. Your body needs the rest. Okay? Find out what's going on with your body. If you're somebody who's maybe just not getting as much sleep because your habits are a little out of whack, I posted a resource. I think I already posted it. If not, I will go back and look at it. I posted a resource about some ways to get, to help to ensure your body to get some disciplined sleep. Different habits that you can do, things you can do before bedtime, behaviors that you can modify to give yourself a little bit better sleep. So depending upon which camp you fall into, go one of 2 directions. One last thing I would say about sleep, naps count. Feel free to get a nap here or there, as long as it doesn't interrupt your nightly sleep. If you're taking a 2-hour nap during the middle of the day, it may interrupt your sleeping at night. That's not a good trade-off. So a nap can be great. And in fact, when I'm tired, I take a nap, but I also set my alarm. And for me, I set it for 15 minutes because I know that with my body, after 15 minutes, that's plenty of time. I wake up, I feel refreshed, and I feel really great. Generally, it's 15 to 30 minutes. Okay, that kind of nap can really help us to feel fresh, but make sure that you get enough sleep. Okay, so that's what I've got for you on recovery. Those are the 5 things. Eating and drinking, make sure that you're eating and drinking 3 to 1 on the carbs to protein. Make sure you're getting plenty of water. Active stretching, static stretching and active recovery if you really went hard, if you really needed that. Use devices to help you to do that. Rolling is a great one. You'll notice I still haven't moved the ball away from me. I'm just going down to another spot. It's good as long as it's back there. And then your last one is make sure you get enough sleep, which includes naps. Okay, so Helen, I know you had a question, so why don't you go ahead and you can unmute yourself. If you can't unmute yourself, just holler and I will unmute you.
Got it.
There we go.
Okay, actually 2 questions. One, have you heard of the Beamer machine?
I have heard of the Beamer machine. Yes.
Yes. I've used it, but it's a pretty expensive way to recover. Any thoughts about that?
So she's talking about a machine, and I wish I could tell you more about it intelligently. My exposure to it has been fairly minimal. It is a group that's going through an FDA process right now, but it's based on moving waste and toxins out of the body. And it's passive, right? So you set up this like pad, and you rest on this pad, and it uses I don't even know how to tell you exactly what it uses. It is, I think is it BEAMER or BEEMER?
BEMER.
Okay.
BEMER.
BEMER. I will say this. I did it after playing pickleball. Somebody was here with one and they asked me to do it after playing pickleball. And I did. And I did I don't remember if it was a 20 or a 30-minute treatment. And I was like, wow, my body feels really different after the 20 or 30 minutes. I was surprised. And I'm pretty acutely aware of how my body feels. So I do notice if there's subtle changes in it. And I felt really good. Now, I felt good enough to say, I'd like to know more about this. It's kind of a pricey device. I know that they're about to unroll like a backpack version, but it's still several $1,000s. But they are working with the FDA. They're getting some approvals as a medical device. The science seems to be there. I took a glimpse at it, but I wasn't to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm going to get me one. So I didn't really do my homework as deeply as I would do it. But I've heard a lot of great anecdotal evidence about it. I mean, Tyson McGuffin, if you know who Tyson is, he's like the #1 singles player in the world. And Tyson, even though he's a young guy, if you watch Tyson puts a lot of stress on his body. Tyson actually walks. Watch how Tyson walks. He walks very duck-footed. Okay, that's his natural position. Probably to me, that's telling me he's got pretty tight hips and thighs and maybe lower back. And then if you watch his serve, talk about Tyson has this huge killer serve, but the way he positions his body, if you just try and do that, you put tremendous amount of stress on your lower back. I mean, he generates unbelievable power. He just smokes it, but it's a very stressful position. Tyson has been using it. Tyson swears by it. And before playing pickleball, Tyson was a competitive tennis player, high level competitive tennis player. So he swears by it. What was your experience? Did you like it?
It was an opportunity to relax between matches. I couldn't really tell if it made any impact. Maybe
Okay.
Maybe I didn't stay on it long enough, but the relaxation was fine.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not sure most people would notice a difference, right? I don't know. I can tell you, I'm very highly acute in my body, so I'm pretty attuned to when my body is hurting, and when there's changes in my body, because I've been paying attention to it for a long period of time. So worth it. I will tell you this, and she's going to be, so Dottie Berry, Coach Dottie B, is going to be on my live show. I'm doing a weekly live until at least June 2nd. I typically do a monthly live show at 4:00 on Tuesdays on the YouTube channel. And I'm going to do a weekly live until June 2nd. And Dottie is going to be on May 12th. She may or may not talk about it. That was how I got exposed to BEMER. Okay. And I know she's been working with that company. So if you want to learn more about it, I would kind of maybe plug into that show. She may be talking about it a little bit more.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Other questions?
I was just going to say that I tried that, the Jolt or Volt, whatever
Yeah.
I call it the jackhammer. I think it was at a fair or something. They were demoing it, and I've always had neck issues, and I can't turn my head very far, and to the point where it's starting to bother my driving, and I've tried chiropractic and physical therapy and ice and heat, and nothing really seems to help, but that really did. And I think it was because it was targeted. It was a kind of a fine point right in my issue with it was that it's not something I can do to myself because of where it is. So it then becomes, now I got to get my husband to do it when I want it, and it's just sort of a hassle. But that did seem to work for me in a spot that's been a problem for a long time.
I will tell you, one of the things that really has a some good research behind it. So you know, like the little waxer for your car that vibrates around your car? So it vibrates at the same frequencies that our muscles vibrate at. And a trainer started using, there's several trainers that use this, started using this with professional athletes. And because it vibrates at the same frequency as our muscles, the relief that people are getting is amazing. The problem is you can't do it to yourself, right? So it's kind of, because they're really inexpensive. You know, you can get one of those for like 40-ish bucks. And my chiropractor, who's also a good friend, he's a personal trainer as well. We train together, and he's got one. So we'll do it to each other because you can't do it to yourself, right? Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Shirley. Can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Will the Tuesday sessions at 7 be recorded?
Yes, those sessions are recorded. So the link that I send out, if you're on the email list, the link that I send out with those, you can use that same exact link to go back and get those. Or you can go to the Better Pickleball homepage on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Better Pickleball. And the live sessions are all up at the top. What's upcoming is first, and what is just a past live is next. Cool. All right. So no questions on what we've got so far, because I know you had a couple others. Go
I have
ahead.
one more.
Yep.
This has to do with sleep.
Uh-huh.
What's the research show about taking melatonin, and why should one do that or not?
Yeah. Melatonin can help people to sleep. It's one of those, and frankly, so it's a natural substance to help your body relax, to get into a deeper state of sleep. Some people report great results with it. And I guess what I would say is this, is if you are experiencing some sleep challenges, right? Please remember, there's a difference between I'm getting crappy sleep and I can't get any kind of sleep. That is, go see a sleep doctor. Okay. Whereas maybe I'm just a little restless. I'm not as restful as I was. Melatonin is something you could take. There are all sorts of over-the-counter things, like lavender as an essential oil. You know, that's something that you could mix lavender with some water, right? A couple drops of a good lavender essential oil. You mix it with water and you can spray it on your pillow at night. That can help. Lavender inside of a bath can help. There are a couple other essential oils. Lavender is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of essential oils. It has a lot of different qualities. That could be something that could help. My husband has experimented with a couple of different, my husband's not a great sleeper. He tends to wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and he occasionally struggles to get back to sleep. He has experimented with a couple of different products. Melatonin does not work for him. He has tried, right now he's in the process of trying something else. And it seems to be working, but I'll let you know more about what happens. Another thing I would tell you is, if you're having a hard time sleeping, meditation can really have a lot of positive. Now you have to practice that before bedtime. You have to start that practice during the day. But meditation can have a lot of positive impacts on that as well. Okay. So, any other questions on kind of like that recovery part? I know this group still had a couple more questions that I want to make sure that I get to. Okay. So let's see, I'll knock off the easy one first. I know that somebody had asked about the stretching, so I posted the static stretching video for after play, and the dynamic stretching does have a PDF with it. That I had created a PDF off of, so I posted that inside of the group yesterday. You can find that in the Zoom coaching links. So if you don't already have that, you can download that. Patricia asked about nutrition plan and how to calculate the number of calories that you need on a daily basis, and then how to do your macros, which are what your body needs. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of that. That's a topic that we go into depth in inside the Fit After 50 program. In fact, there's 2 videos that are dedicated to that. So that's a fairly deep subject. But let me give you a quick overview on how you can start to calculate that. There are some online calculators that can help you with just a starting point of how many calories you need. Generally, what I say to people is, for most people, you're probably somewhere in the 1,800-ish calories. A lot of that depends on your age, what you've done to your body. Have you yo-yo dieted? I mean, we are just so different. And that's why this calculation takes time, is because you have to track it over a period of time. The other thing that happens to us as we age, we need less calories. It's called reduced caloric restriction. Okay. If we continue, if you're 60 and you eat the same number of calories when you're 62, chances are at 62, you're going to be putting on weight, because your metabolism is starting to slow just a little bit. So I'm going to say, in general, we're probably somewhere in that 1,800 calorie-ish range is a starting point. But I will post a calculator that you can give a quick down and dirty look at. What I would caution you, in these calculators, they ask you your activity level, and most people put an activity level way more than they really are. Most of us really do lead a sedentary lifestyle. Okay, we are sedentary or very lightly active. Okay, that's the mistake most people make. So then, just in terms of, macros again are substances that your body needs a lot of, and there's 3 macros. We're talking about fats. We're not talking about body fat. We're talking about dietary fats, and particularly healthy fats like, avocados, olive oils, those types of things. We're talking about carbohydrates, again, preferably complex carbohydrates. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, things like quinoa, farro, those types of grains, right? The good part about those is they also, when we have whole grains, they have more fiber in them, and fiber helps to fill us up. Whereas simple carbohydrates like pasta made out of just regular white flour, those tend to go through our body really fast. We burn those for quick energy, and then we feel really hungry again, usually relatively quickly. So we need carbohydrates. And then the other thing we're going to need is protein. So general areas, and again, you would need to start to track this and to monitor it where your body is. General areas, fat, 20 to 35% of your daily caloric intake. Protein, 10 to 35. And I say 10, that's very, very low. But if you have some health, there are certain health issues where you don't want to have a lot of protein in your diet. Okay. And that would be a conversation that your doctor probably would have had with you already, that you have to watch the amount of protein inside of your diet, but somewhere between 10 and 35, and then carbohydrates somewhere between 45 and 65. Probably the easiest way to start to track that is you get some starting points, and then you start adding your foods into an app, say MyFitnessPal or Lose It are the other ones. You don't need the paid version of those. You can just use the free versions. And what it starts to do is it starts to track those macros for you so you can see what you're eating. As you progress through that, you look at those macros, and if your body weight is not changing, that truly is the amount of calories you need. Your body's feeling good. Those are the areas that you need to be in, and then you plan your meals around that. So that's a high level, that's like a 30,000 foot flyover of something that's a really deep, deep, deep subject that can go in a lot of directions. But does that help you a little bit, Patricia?
Yes, except I've got to track it. That's my problem. I tried to get on one of the apps and it didn't, I don't know if I got on the wrong app, but I have the inability to track all of this. Sometimes, I watch what I eat, but I, my body is just not accepting certain things, so I have to now adjust.
Yeah, I would say try one of those two apps. Could you track this? Could you track this by hand? Absolutely. Boy, I got to tell you, it'd be really super time consuming.
Yeah.
Whereas when you put it into an app, especially, and the reason I recommend Lose It and MyFitnessPal, in fact, I kind of like MyFitnessPal better, is because
Okay.
they have a pretty robust library.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That pulls right into it. And then the other thing you can do on both those apps is you can scan. So if let's just say you're eating yogurt, okay, and it's got the barcode on the scanner, you can set the app up so that you just point your camera at the barcode, and it scans it right into the app, and then you can start to see what your carbs and your carbs, your fats, and your protein.
So this is myfitnesspal.com.
Uh-huh.
You're going, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to use the MyFitnessPal, and I think you do have to buy the premium though to get the macro tracking. I think
you now?
I think you just get calories for free, but it's not that much. I did it for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, the scanning it was nice. The thing to be careful though that I noticed is a lot of people enter food into their library and they don't do it right. So if you grab bran muffin, you can see, one of them might have 500 calories and one's got 50. And you don't know if they just had a math problem or what the heck their recipe was. But yeah, just be real careful if the numbers don't look right, they're probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because anybody can enter food in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It also has a pretty good restaurant menu items in there, so that if you go to Chili's and order the salmon, you could put Chili's salmon, and they've taken the info right off the nutrition from the restaurant. So that's pretty nice.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
And then the last question that I had was how to plan, right? End goals. So one of the resources that I put in there for you is 25 tricks and tips to staying fit and healthy over 50. And that's a free resource that I give away. And it is, I have to tell you, it's a lot of my best stuff, and it's starting to create and put a plan together for you. If you take it to the very end, it kind of shows you how to do that. When in Fit After 50, we get really hard into planning. We look at goals, not just setting goals, but why you're setting goals and what's important about those. And so again, planning is a super deep subject that needs more than just a single question and answer. But here are a couple of basics that I always encourage people to do. Number one, when you're trying to make change, only pick somewhere between 2 and 3 things to change at one time. Do not give yourself a laundry list of 10 things. Most people will fall flat on their face trying to change too many things at one time. Okay, so pick 2 to 3 things. And I don't care if this is your pickleball game, your diet, your nutrition, your fitness routine. I don't care what it is. Pick 2 to 3 things to change at a time. Second thing is those 2 or 3 things, if you think back to the first time we got together, I asked you about what's your lowest hanging fruit. Pick your lowest hanging fruit to change. So let's just say that I wanted to change I wanted to change how I eat. I want to change how I'm eating. And I'm going to change that. I'm a person who eats a lot of processed food. So maybe number 1 is reading labels, right? I make a commitment that when I go to the grocery store, I begin to read the labels of what I'm doing. So that in itself is going to start to help me make some better choices. The second thing that I would do is say, okay, I'm going to eat 1 meal from scratch a week, or 1 more meal from scratch a week, right? So I'm starting to make small changes, because here's the thing. If you pick the lowest hanging fruit and you start by making those small changes, you are going to see results. And when you see results, you're going to go, yeah, I like that. Let's keep doing it. Right? So that's the first thing I recommend. The next thing that I do, and I do a whole segment on this in Fit After 50, because, and it's lifestyle. It's how to fit it into your lifestyle, how to make those plans. We talk about goal setting and nutrition and exercise, and we get into those in great detail, but we also talk about the planning portion. So one of the things I recommend in terms of planning is I sit down with my week on on Sunday, and I spend 15 minutes. I look at the week coming up ahead, and the very first thing I do is I put in all my commitments. When I'm working, when I'm going to the gym, when I'm maybe meeting friends for dinner, I put in all my commitments for the entire week. Once I do that, I can start to see what my week looks like, both from an activity standpoint as well as a nutritional standpoint. Gee, I'm going to have a hard time getting a meal in here. I'm going to need to bring something with me. Ooh, man, when am I going to get a workout? What time of day can I do it? Where can I put this? So I start to look at this puzzle and I start to fit these pieces in this puzzle. Then, because my week just stays exactly the same for the whole entire week, I never have to go back and do it again, right? Right. What I do once I have that down is then every night I look at that for the next day. What's changed? What's different? Where can I massage this? Ooh, a meeting canceled. I have an extra hour. What am I going to do with that extra hour? Well, because left to my own devices, all of a sudden I look down and I have an extra hour. I'm probably going to work. Maybe I should maybe I should do a little harder workout that day. Maybe I should take some time and relax. Maybe I should go for a walk. So in terms of planning, pick your lowest hanging fruit, try and change 2 to 3 things at a time, and find a way to make it fit first inside of a week, and then start to massage it inside a daily basis. And I will tell you, the better you get at that, it really only takes me about 15 minutes on Sunday night to plan, and it takes me about 5 to 7 minutes at the end of every day to look forward to tomorrow. And when I do it, I'm really incredibly focused and I get a lot done. And when I don't do it, I can tell you this, I'm not as focused and I don't get as much done, either for myself, my business, or for my body, because I have to plan in my workout time as well. So I hope that helps on the planning side. Go ahead, Shirley.
Sorry.
No problem.
I think my question was more like they talked in a lot of the summit things about having a plan when you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I certainly show up to the courts and say, well, I'm going to work on my third shot drop today. That's going to be what I'm going to concentrate on. Even if I get it wrong, that's what I want to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that's what they were talking about in tournament play or open play.
I think it differs with everyone. I think a plan is a plan. What is the plan for me to get better? And I think too many people go to the pickleball courts and they maybe have a plan to practice their third shot drop. And that plan disappears after two games, right? Now they're focused on winning. And what am I doing to win this particular game? I think sometimes people will go in tournaments and they will go in there with a partner and they've made a plan. Okay, you know what, Shirley, you and I are playing Helen and Lori, and we are just going to keep attacking Helen's backhand again and again and again and again and see if we can get her to make a mistake. Well, all of a sudden, Helen's not making the mistakes we thought she would in the first 2 or 3 times we do this, and boom, now it's out the window. Really? 2 or 3 points and I'm ready to give up on it. So I think planning, no matter if it's on the pickleball courts or off the pickleball courts, I think those things are consistent. Is pick your goals, make sure your actions are in alignment with your goals, and then execute your plan. Find a way to make it work in and then execute your plan.
Well, not that I want to pick on Helen. I hardly know you, Helen. but she mentioned picking on your backhand. So how would I even know that that's the backhand I want to pick on? How do you scope? Is that evaluate your opponents, and how do you have time to evaluate your opponents, and what do you look for?
I would say this: when I'm looking at tournament play, I would scope my opponents out between sessions. But here's pretty much a big one. Most people's backhand sucks compared to their forehand. So since there's only 2 people on the court, if you don't really know which one is worse, look at them maybe a little bit while they're warming up. See what's going on while they're warming up. And if nothing else, I'd look at it and say, you know what? Helen's got on blue today. We're going to pick on her because she's wearing blue, and pick on her. And if Helen tends to have a good backhand, say, okay, Helen has now proved us right. Let's go try Lori's backhand. Let's see how she does with the backhand.
No, pick on Helen.
But that's an example. Picking on the backhand is the exact example I would use. That's low-hanging fruit. That's your low-hanging fruit in playing pickleball. Go there first. Now, you come up against somebody like the Waters, probably wouldn't pick on their backhands for all that long. They got great backhands.
Thank you.
Does that help? So I think the strategy, and what I would say is this, I think the strategy for goal setting, and it doesn't matter if it's pickleball or weight loss or whatever, I think the strategy for goal setting is probably pretty similar amongst a lot of things. Get that low-hanging fruit, make sure that your actions are consistent with your goals, and then fit your plan of action into your life.
I think the hard part about it is you can have the plan, but when something happens to derail you, it's hard to get back on the plan or to change the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, whether it's playing or other, it's easy to get derailed, and then it's hard to get back on track. And sometimes in a tournament, it can be too late by the time you get back on track.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's where I dig a lot into thought models. You know, I touched on that very early in this, but thought models into how do we think about that? Because sometimes our thoughts derail us.
Yeah.
And we can change that around in a variety of ways, usually pretty quickly, if we're accustomed to using thought models to be able to do that. So, cool. All right. Anybody have any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Enjoyed it.
Wonderful. So all those resources, excuse me, are in there, except Jason's peanut butter. Is it Jason's? I'm going to look. I think it's Jason's. I knew eventually it would come back to me.
I ask you, how long is that stuff available to us?
You will have access to the community now for a while. I don't know that it's permanent for you. The access to the community is permanent for people who are in the Fit After 50 program. I'm not sure right now how long, at least for the next 6 weeks or so. Okay, you have access to it. I've got a couple things coming up. I'm in the process of rewriting portions of Fit After 50. I always constantly am revising things because I want to make it more and more valuable to the people who are using it. So based on their questions and their suggestions, every time I'm in between program launches, I rewrite it. And then my original plan was to relaunch it in May 5th, but I'm going to push that back just a little bit just because of everything that's going on in the world. And so I'm going to push that back a little bit. I'll be relaunching that. I'm also revising some of my coaching offerings, my small group coaching offerings. And so you'll see a little bit more about that also coming in the next couple of weeks. I will be sending you a survey. Please tell me what you liked, and please tell me what you didn't like, because that's how I rearrange things and just, okay, I need to do X, I need to do Y, here's where I want to go, and that's how I make this all fit. Because while all 3 things work together, there is a pickleball component. There is a nutritional component and there is a fitness component. And I get that. I also understand that to live our best lives, we need all three of those components in some way, shape, or form. Certain people may need a little bit more of some than others. So I get that. But you'll be seeing more of that. So if you have some questions still, please feel free to reach out to me in the community. I will see those as they come up. Yes, Shirley.
Can you put something in a resource in the community about the mind changing thing that you just talked about?
The thought model process.
Thought model process, yes.
I probably have some old videos that I will tell you this. One of the big things I do in Fit After 50, and that's why that program is at a different price point and it's much more robust. That is the focus of that program, is using your thoughts and using that thought model. We dig deep into that particular program, and that's the basis for all of our coaching, is the thought model. But I know that I have done some general videos on the thought model, and I'd be happy to put those in there so that you can start to see a little bit more what it's all about.
Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else?
CJ,
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm still having trouble getting into the community. So at the end of this, can you spend a few minutes with me?
Okay, certainly.
All right. Or I can call you on your cell phone if that's better.
You know what? Let's table it till later, because I have a live at 4 o'clock, and I had some tech issues the last couple of days, and I have to make sure that they're resolved with the person that I'm pulling into the live. But let's redo that discussion either later today or tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yes. What time is best for you for me to call you?
You can contact me today after 6 o'clock, or tomorrow. My availability is pretty good between 8 and 11.
Okay. I'm going for a bike ride tomorrow, so I'll try to call you tomorrow between 9 and 10.
Perfect. That sounds great. All right.
Thanks a lot. Because
Okay.
I got into it once easily, and the rest of the time, when I click on the link, it just sends me somewhere and it asks for a password. I put my password in that I created, and it says it's invalid. And I just sit there and stare at it.
Okay.
It's like, why is it invalid?
Okay, we'll talk about it, because it's showing me that you're in the community. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. So
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, tomorrow.
You
Thanks.
got it. Helen,
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, CJ.
go ahead. You can jump off. I know Helen has a question, but if you're done, you can go ahead and jump off.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
CJ, bye-bye.
Bye.
CJ is wondering, what is your topic for tonight? And what are your plans? Do you have plans for staying in touch with us?
I do. I will be in touch with you very shortly with some of the different, we're going to stay in touch inside of the community. So that's number one. So you can always reach out to me at least the next 6 weeks inside of the community. I will be staying in touch as I start to revise some of the coaching things that I have done. I will be inviting you all over to the community forum pickleball list. If you haven't already been invited, those invites will be coming your way, and I will be inviting this group quickly, because that's a nice community to talk about pickleball in, which is kind of a completely different subject. And we may grow my community inside a pickleball list. I'm not quite sure yet where that all goes. So I've got a lot of things going on. But yes, through the community for right now, but always feel free to reach out to me, especially if you have any questions or share your success with me. Please tell me that. And then tonight I have Brandon Swanson, the paddle geek, back, because we had a lot of questions about paddles. And so we're talking pickleball paddles, and it's an AMA, ask me anything. So I think there'll be a lot of questions coming his way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to sign off. Good luck to everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, CJ. It's been great.
Wonderful.
bye-bye.
Thank you all.